Thank you for stating that. 6% of the vote is in Michigan, Texas, but because of Fresco, 46% of the vote has been released. Hillary Clinton, look at this, has a 56,000 vote lead.
Okay, we're on YouTube. So YouTube, no problem. This is already live.
Should I try and fix it? No, I'll try and fix it. What? It's Facebook that we can't go.
Let's try and fix it. Let's try and fix it. Scott.
I'm trying to fix it. Why? Facebook is... I know. I mean, if you want, I'll try and fix something. You haven't been able to figure it out. I can try and fix it.
Elmir, it's a Facebook thing. They're having issues with their...
I can try and do something.
Wait. Hold on. I feel like because Morgan was talking about doing something else.
Already live. These latest electoral votes for 66 for Donald Trump and 287 to win the White House and United. The red states we projected Donald Trump will win. The blue states we projected that he couldn't win. The yellow states too.
Alright, let's see something.
No projection yet. This is available.
Alberto, you good?
Yeah.
Alrighty. After many technical difficulties, welcome to Fresco Live. I'm John Meyer.
And I'm Scott Mullen, the managing editor.
And we are live from Fresco headquarters in New York City. We're having our election night party here at our office. We have a really interesting night, even after many technical difficulties, of content from our citizen journalists, of interviews, of some analysis of the results. We'll be going over in real time what's happening with all the electoral votes. Do you know where we're at right now, Scott?
Yeah, so it's a pretty tight race so far, it looks like. For the most part, it looks like Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are picking up the states that they have been expected to pick up so far. We had a big group of states close at 8 p.m. Eastern time just a little while ago. And those results continue to roll in. We had a few states close earlier than that, about an hour earlier. Those states were mostly smaller and have pretty much gone the way that we expected them to. But what we're really watching right now is the race in Florida. As of the last I saw, we've got it running on the screen back there, but as last I saw, they were within, I think, 10,000 votes of one another in Florida, right sitting at about 48.5% of the votes. Donald Trump is slightly ahead in Florida, and there are about 91% of counties reporting. So could still go either way. It's looking like Trump might be able to lock it down in Florida, which would be a huge thing for his campaign. Florida is really a must-win for them. If they don't pull it out in Florida, it's going to be really tough for them to make it to the requisite number of votes. So we're keeping our eyes on that one. It could come in any minute now. We'll make sure to keep you updated if it does. We're also making sure to watch Ohio and North Carolina, both of which are reporting as we speak. Not quite there yet, but Hillary Clinton currently leads in both of those states, I believe. Both were pretty much toss-ups going into it. The polls didn't really show a clear lean one way or the other. But now it looks like Hillary Clinton might be able to pull those off if the lead holds as it is right now. So how are you feeling about all this so far, John?
Extremely stressful. You can hear it with the atmosphere as well over at our party here. But yeah, Florida, oh my gosh. It's literally, I mean, it's still almost exactly tied, 48 to 48.9. So extremely close. There's only a few percentage points left in terms of polls being reported. So we'll have to keep you up to date on that. But yeah, what about you? How are you feeling about it?
Well, I'm feeling about how I thought I would. I was kind of thinking that Florida might go Hillary's way, but you know, even if it doesn't, I don't think that's the end of the road for her. She can afford to lose that one and continue to move forward. But yeah, I mean, a little bit nervous. We'll see how it goes. But you know, in the meantime, while we're waiting for those results, we've really got a couple great things to show you. We want to show you some of our content from some of our users in Atlanta who have been sending in their videos from their polling places throughout the day. We're also going to sit down with a New York psychologist to talk a little bit about how this election has been affecting people around the country, and particularly in terms of anxiety, a lot of people are pretty worried, pretty worked up about this election. So we're going to get her perspective on why that might be and what people can do to mitigate that. But before we do that, we're gonna, I think, toss it to some. We're gonna do a quick break. Yeah. Okay, so we're here with Audie. He's going to tell us a little bit about how he's been feeling about this election so far. So a lot of people in the country have expressed anxiety, have been anxious for this election to end, really more than anything else. They just want it to be over. So how have you felt? Do you agree? Are you enjoying it? What do you think?
Well, I don't think anyone is enjoying this election. Like a lot of liberals, we've been refreshing 538 blog and looking at the New York Times predictions, just trying to see, whether Clinton can win, and if she can win, how badly she can defeat Trump. A candidate like Trump is we haven't really seen a candidate like Trump before in the history of American electoral elections. And it'd be kind of exciting to see the first woman beat him by a large number of electoral votes. So, with such divisive rhetoric in this campaign, such foul language on some occasions, I've heard a lot of people talk about how the mood in the country has really shifted, kind of taken on a darker tone with this election. Do you think that you've seen anything to support that? Do you think that things have kind of taken, politics especially, have taken on a more nasty sort of... I think the biggest change we've seen, it's not new that people will be very crude in referring to their opponents. George Wallace was very divisive. Thomas Jefferson was very divisive. But I think what's new is that people have their echo chambers now, so they can be extremely crude and have very violent language towards their opponents, but have it sort of be just within their own community. I think that's kind of new because up until this point, if you had a political view, you'd have to go out and speak to other people, but now you can sort of stay in and just look at your social network on your phone. I think that's pretty new, and I think that's sort of uncharted territory going forward. How do we reconcile this new media, the voices on new media, with truth in journalism and these really important things that we kind of count on in years past?
Okay, so one last thing real quick. I just want to ask you, after this election concludes tonight, or hopefully tonight, maybe tomorrow morning, depending on how things go, do you see a way forward with the country in terms of healing, coming together, overcoming some of the divisions that this campaign has engendered, or do you think that those are going to stick around for some time?
It's a great question. I think I'm a Barack Obama optimist. He's someone who has been kicked down and dealt with a gridlock Congress for 8 years, or at least 6 years. And he's still optimistic about what the future of the country can be. Whether it's, the formation of a third party, whether it's the ending of the Electoral College, I'm confident that there are choices that Congress can make that'll make our political divides less maybe extreme, or if they are extreme, then making then at least finding an outlet for them. But yeah, I'm optimistic that social changes will happen in the country because
I think the alternative is much more depressing. And frankly, it takes courage to do those things, and I've always believed that Americans have a lot of courage.
Well, thanks so much for your perspective. Right now we're going to go to Dr. Chloe Carmichael, the clinical psychologist here in New York, who is going to talk to us a little bit about her perspective on why this election has been so hard for some people to weather.
There's a lot of survivalist issues that I think are really at play right now. People are concerned about, will I have health care, or will I have to pay so much for health care that I won't be able to afford anything else? People are concerned about their jobs and their welfare and who's coming into the country. They're also concerned on the opposite side about what it would mean to become isolationists and what maybe their identity as an American feels like. So all of these issues coming together, it really does make a perfect storm for anxiety, of course. People are really going inside of themselves. I've seen clients that are just very overwrought with anxiety, but they're not talking to anybody about it. Sometimes even their anxiety is about if they happen to differ from their friends or from their family. Will my neighbor vilify me if we happen to be on different sides of this vote? The candidates themselves are not making up these issues. These are real issues that our country is facing. We have two very different candidates who view the issues differently. And so they are putting out rhetoric that says to people, hey, this election is important. If this side loses, then we all could be in some serious trouble. I've never had anybody come into my office and say, I'm just a hateful person and I just hate people who disagree with me. In fact, I've actually, again, more often had people come into my office and say either, I'm genuinely afraid of where the country is going, and I've had people on both sides of the aisle come and say that, and I've also had people on both sides of the aisle come and talk about anxiety for where they're in situations where they happen to be in the minority politically and they feel like sharing their opinion is going to get them ostracized. I think our country has come back from, much more significant conflicts than this. I mean, our country literally was, of course, at war with itself during the Civil War. And, we were able to move forward from that as a country, and in many ways to be stronger and to have some, very difficult but ultimately very important conversations. If people do just continue down this road where 50% of the country feels alienated from the other, eventually, by being aware of the fact that that doesn't actually feel good for any of us, it only leads to anxiety. My hope is that it would cause people to learn how to sit at the table together and talk about these things.
I think that message is definitely applicable tonight, especially right now where we're looking at Florida. Within 10% of the vote within 10% of the vote has yet to come in. Oh man, we are waiting on just less than 10% of the vote to come in Florida, and once that comes in, that's going to be a big deciding moment in the race. But as of this moment, it's still too close to call. So I think the anxiety is getting to a lot of us in this room at this moment. I think most of the people here are hoping that Hillary Clinton will be able to pull it out, but as of right now, it's not looking like that's going to happen. We'll continue to keep you updated. But for the time being, we're going to go over to John, who's going to tell you a little bit about some of our users.
Absolutely. So, fantastic little package we had. But yeah, let's get right into this. We actually have a few segments tonight where we're actually taking you throughout the country to various polling places and various interviews, actually all shot by Fresco citizen journalists. And so, really just before we even get into that, we're going to go straight into Atlanta. The way it works is you download the Fresco app. You can receive assignments from either Fresco or news stations near you, and shoot what's happening in your community in exchange for actual money and seeing your work in the news. So let's jump into some awesome clips from Atlanta from today and also the past few days leading up to this important night.
ticket, that's a winning ticket. Okay, there you go. Michelle for Vice.
Okay, one thing. Hillary, tomorrow we're gonna be from door to door to get votes for you.
To get out the vote.
We love you, Hillary. You're a tough lady. You're a nasty woman because we are nasty. Yeah, because we can't take it. And she had more stamina than Trump because the way he treated her, that shows a lady. And we love you, Hillary.
And she sticks up for disabled, and that's really a big.
And you are winning. You are going to win. But we're going to be sure that you win.
Well, this election, it's particularly this election, we need to keep in mind, we need to remember that we live in a republic, and sometimes we forget, and at some point I'm under the impression that we have this idea as if the president is a dictator. We don't live in a dictatorship. So we have Congress, we have senators, and we have representatives who ultimately, in coordination with the executive branch, make laws, and we implement the policies as a whole.
So, as a Latino gay male living in the Orlando community, I feel like both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, they did discuss a lot of interesting views and opinions on certain things. However, certain things they were leaving out a lot of certain things such as healthcare. Healthcare for a lot of people that don't have full-time jobs or who are gay, for gays especially with certain diseases like HIV or AIDS or anything like that, and trying to help them, especially in the Atlanta community right now with everything that's happening this year. I feel like they can express more interest in that and excuse me, and probably definitely find some type of better insurance plans and health benefits for them, especially those that can't afford it, because it is such an influx in the Orlando community, period. And since Orlando is such a big city and such a big state, and they need those votes, I definitely think they would have to persuade a lot of people in the state of Florida in order to probably win the election.
So we are still awaiting on some of those close results out of North Carolina, Ohio, and Florida. Nothing so far, but we will make sure to update you as soon as we hear something. We're going to go offline for a little while and wait for some more results to roll in, and make sure you tune back in a little bit. We'll come back online to update you with more results as the night goes on.
And of course, as a reminder, you can be a part of the conversation. We loved seeing these great videos from our users around the country by just downloading the Fresco app in the App Store or on the Google Play Store. Until, I guess we'll probably be back in the next half hour to an hour, but stay tuned on our YouTube, on our Facebook page, and check out us when we're back.